Hi, boys and girls.
Mr. Krivak and Mrs. Brady come to you once again for our Pride House Warrior video. Today we're going to talk about 4 different areas that we're going to remember our building expectations. And the first one is actually one that we've talked about a little bit because it's talking about assemblies. And while we've already had several assemblies this year, we've reminded the students because we have them posted inside the cafetorium that, again, what's our number one thing all the time?
Keep our hands, our feet, and ourselves
To ourselves.
to ourselves.
Safe hands, as Mr. Krivak always refers to. And also, when we have guests coming to speak to us, which is what usually happens in our assembly, what should we do?
Well, we need to make sure that we're listening to them at a level 1.
1, that's right. And we have children that are tall and short, and so sometimes if we're not sitting all the way on our bottoms folding with our legs crisscross applesauce, people can't see behind them. So it's always important to sit flat on the floor. What else?
Don't sit on your knees or on your feet, but sitting flat on your bottom.
That's right.
Also, we want to make sure that we're learning something new during the assembly, and this goes under determination.
That's right. And always remaining quiet and focused during the presentation so you can pay attention and those around you can pay attention as well. And finally, engaged.
And at the end of the assembly, a lot of times the guest speaker will ask if anybody has any questions.
That's right. It's important because that's how we learn.
So yeah, you need to listen in order to ask those good questions.
So we want everyone to make sure that we're following our Warrior Pride expectations and assemblies because then our guests, when they leave, can talk about what a great job our Gillis Suite students have done. Our next one is in the STEAM lab, which is a fun place to go because it's so engaging. There's lots of activity going on in there, a lot of creativity going on in there. But there's just a few things we need to keep remembering when we're in the STEAM lab for positive choices.
We need to make sure that we are following all of the posted rules that are in the STEAM lab. And a lot of those rules are going to be the same ones that are in your classroom.
That's right, because it's actually a classroom. And respect.
We're going to use all of the equipment carefully. So boys and girls, when you go to the STEAM lab, there's going to be different tools that you could use, especially scientific tools.
Right.
So we need to make sure that we're using those carefully. So we don't want to break them. We
That's
want to be
right.
able to
I was just going to say because other classes are going to come in and they're going to want to use them as well. And always using your, being careful with your classmates' projects. Sometimes a class before you may have left something in there that they're creating. Should we go over and bother it?
No, not at all.
Because that's something they're proud of and they want to come back and see it.
Even though it may look really cool and you want to see it, do not touch it. You can look, but just don't touch.
Don't touch. How about determination?
Well, when we're in the STEAM lab, it's important to try your best with whatever it is that your teacher is asking you to do, whatever activity that you may be working on. Try your best. Don't give up. And it's totally normal to feel frustrated, especially during some of those STEAM projects.
Because you're being creative and having to think for yourself, and sometimes that's hard. It's even hard for me. And then being engaged. I think the STEAM lab's probably the easiest place to be engaged because you're always participating and you're always sharing ideas and being creative. But sometimes we have to listen to others' ideas too.
And that can be a challenge. So if we're working in a group, we want to make sure that we give everybody in our group a chance to share their ideas.
That's correct. Our next one is field trip. A lot of field trips are coming up. I know we have our 4th graders going next week. I think they're going to Playhouse Square. And when we take students out of the building and they're in the community, it's very important to remember our Warrior Pride works just the same outside the building as it does here. So one of the first things, what are we going to talk about?
Positive choices, which means
keeping our hands to ourselves.
And staying with our group. We want to make sure that we're listening to our teacher. Where are we supposed to be? Are we supposed to be in a certain group, in a certain spot? We don't want to wander away.
And that's for safety reasons too. And respecting, we listen to the speakers just when you have an assembly. In school, when you're going out of the building and going to someplace really special, they're usually trying to teach you something. So we need to be respectful and listen to the speakers or the guides or the people that are helping us at those different places. How about integrity?
Well, integrity means that we're representing our school, Gillis Suite, in a positive way. And the way we do that is that we are doing all the things that we're talking about. We're making positive choices and we're being respectful.
And so many times I'll get a phone call from one of the places we visit and they'll tell me that we have great kids at Gillis Suite because they were very polite, they had a lot of manners, they were treating each other with respect, and they're very good representations of Fairview Park. How about determination?
Learn something new from each experience. So when we're going to these different field trips, the goal of going on a field trip is to learn and experience something new.
Because most of our field trips are learning field trips because we have to be learning even when we're away from the building. That's what we're here to do every day.
And it's fun. It's fun to get outside of the classroom and go learn about something else.
It is. And engage, the last one. One of the same things that Mr. Krivak talked to you about in the assemblies when you're listening to a guest speaker. Same thing when you go away to a field trip. You should
ask and answer questions.
That's how you learn. Our final area, and it relates to field trips, it relates to coming and going from school, is
the school
bus. This is probably one of our most important ones because Mr. Krivak and I get a lot of students that come in and report that they're having problems on the bus because someone is being mean or hurtful or someone is bothering them.
Someone's not making a positive choice.
That's right. So that's why we have expectations on the bus.
So starting off, our first one, positive choices.
Oh my goodness.
What does that mean? Sitting in our seats at all times.
Same thing when you're driving in a car or your van with your family. Do you have to sit in your seat?
Yep.
Absolutely. The difference is usually you have a seatbelt on. Our buses aren't made with seatbelts, so it's extra important that our students are always sitting in their seats.
On their back pockets, not on their knees, not
That's
facing
correct.
the seat behind them, sitting in their seat.
Yep. And what about the hands?
Keep your hands, your feet, your book bag, anything that belongs to you, your instrument, keep it all to yourself.
Right.
In your seat.
And following the bus rules.
And then our next one is respect. What does that mean to show respect on the bus?
I think we have to make sure we're using kind words with all of our friends and neighbors, especially on the bus, because the driver's driving the bus looking out the front window and can't always see what's going on behind, so we're relying on our students to make sure they're being respectful and treating each other with respect.
And not just kind words, but also safe words.
That's correct.
School appropriate words.
And sometimes we might have extra food or drinks in our backpack. They have to stay in our backpacks till we get home or to school, because what happens?
Well, sometimes it'll spill on the floor.
And then we have a mess on the bus, and then the bus driver has to clean it up. And then it might sit on the bus and not get cleaned up, and then it smells and it's dirty, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. How about integrity?
Well, integrity, I just talked about with respect, but again, integrity means that we're using safe and kind words on the bus.
That's correct. And determination. It's tough sometimes when you're on the bus for a while and there's 40, 50 students on there. You have to be determined that you're going to sit there, you're going to follow the rules, and you're going to listen to the driver. It's very important.
And that means that listening to the driver means if they say that your assigned seat is seat 5, then that's the seat that you sit in.
If
You
there's a
don't
sub, do
switch
I
your
have to
seat.
sit there, Mr.
You
Krivak?
still have to sit
yes,
there.
even if there's a sub. How about engaged?
And for engaged, you need to watch for your stop and be ready to go. So we're paying attention when we're on the bus.
Right.
Is my house coming up? Is this my street?
And that we make sure we get off at the right place. Well, I think that's lots of information to cover today, and I think it's probably our last areas for our matrices and what our expectations are for Warrior Pride. I can't wait to see what we're going to do next time.
Can't wait.
Well, everybody have a wonderful day. Hope you have fun in your Pride House. Goodbye,
Bye.
everybody.